In calisthenics, people often mix up skill, strength and muscle. They train for one and expect results in another. Then they wonder why they are stuck. You might practice handstands every day and still have no pressing power, or chase muscle size with high reps thinking that it will unlock a muscle up, or hit heavy sets once a week assuming that's enough to build real strength. But skill, strength and hypertrophy are completely different adaptations, and if you don't train them intentionally, you'll spin your wheels or worse, burn out. In this video, I'll break down what each one actually is, how they interact and how to program them intelligently. Let's start with clarity. In calisthenics, you're always training a combination of three things, but to make real progress, you need to know which one you're targeting. Skill is control, not effort. This is a neurological adaptation. You're teaching your nervous system how to move with precision, timing and balance. Think handstands, front levers, plunge progressions. These aren't about brute strength, they are about how well you control your body in space. That comes from consistent, low fatigue practice. If your handstand isn't solid, you're probably not weak, you are uncoordinated. Skill is built through frequency, not fatigue. Strength is your ability to produce force, especially under load or leverage. This is both neural and mechanical. You are teaching your body to recruit more muscle fibers, fire them faster and sustain tension under pressure. In calisthenics, that means harder variations. Pseudo plunge push-ups, deep rows, isometric holds, weighted pull-ups. It's not about quantity, it's about tension, control and progression. Real strength doesn't come from repeating the same moves, it comes from making them harder. Hypertrophy is muscle growth, a structural adaptation. You're increasing the size of your muscle fibers through consistent tension, fatigue and volume. Your body doesn't care if you're using bars, rings or weights. It cares about stimulus. That means slow eccentrics, time under tension and enough fatigue to signal growth. Good form and strict reps matter more than flashy exercises. But don't confuse size with ability. A bigger chest won't fix your deep mechanics unless you train for that too. To summarize, skill is movement control, strength is force production, hypertrophy is increasing muscle size. They overlap, but they are not the same, and if you treat them like they are, you plateau fast. Skill, strength and muscle don't exist in separate silos, but they don't replace one another either. They overlap constantly in calisthenics, yet each one demands a different kind of training. This is where most people go wrong. They train one and expect results in all three. Strength supports skill. It gives you more capacity, better control under load, better joint resilience, but it doesn't teach movement. A heavy overhead press won't help you handstand unless you actually train balance. Strength is the foundation, skill is how you use it. Muscle also supports strength, but only when trained intentionally. Moderate to high volume plants create a stimulus for muscle growth, but that size will not turn into usable force without motor control and progression. Bigger muscles give you potential, but that potential doesn't mean power. Skill often looks like strength, but it's something else entirely. A flawless muscle up or static hold looks powerful, but it's mostly precision. Someone with minimal upper body mass can still hold a clean handstand, because they have trained control, not just strength. This is where people get stuck. They see a cool move, assume it's built on size or power and copy the drills, expecting the same results, but the training doesn't match the need. The move was a skill, the program was strength or hypertrophy, so nothing changes. Bottom line, these qualities support each other, but they don't convert into each other. Skill doesn't become muscle, muscle doesn't become control, strength doesn't teach balance. To make real progress, you need to train each one with purpose. The same exercise can build skill, strength or size, but not all at once. The difference is how you perform it. If your goal is skill, the session should feel more like practice than a workout. Low fatigue, high frequency, full focus on precision. You are refining technique, not pushing limits. Skill training works best early in the session, when your nervous system is sharp. If every repetition feels like a grind, you're not training skill, you're hoping to get lucky. Strength demands high intensity. You're chasing max tension in low rep ranges, harder variations, slower tempos, longer rests. In bodyweight terms, that means things like weighted pull-ups or deep isometric holds. You are not doing more, you're doing harder. And because the demand is high, so is the need for recovery. Strength grows from stimulus plus rest, not fatigue. Hypertrophy is all about smart volume and solid intensity. You want time under tension, slow eccentrics, moderate rests and strict form. It's not just about feeling sore, it's about giving your muscles enough stress to grow without wrecking your joints. Done right, hypertrophy work supports strength, joint health and long-term resilience. Each of these requires a different mindset. When training skill, be a technician. When training strength, be a lifter. When training hypertrophy, be a builder. The exercise might look the same, but the intent transforms the outcome. One of the biggest reasons people stall is simple. They are not clear on what they are trying to achieve. They train hard, but the results don't match the effort. Not because they are lazy, but because the goal is blurry. One trap is obsessing over skills, handstands, levers, planches, without the raw strength or muscle base to support them. People grind out reps for months, thinking more practice is the answer, but without pulling and pushing strength, progress stays out of reach. Another trap is chasing hypertrophy with tons of reps, but no control or intensity. You are sore, but not stronger. You get an insane pump, but under real leverage, things fall apart. Muscle is just potential. It only becomes performance if you train control and tension too. And then there's the reverse. Thinking strength unlocks everything. But lifting heavy won't teach you to balance or transition smoothly. Skills are coordination driven. If you're not training that directly, it won't magically appear. Perhaps the most common mistake is trying to do everything at once. Handstands, dips, pull-ups, without a clear focus. It feels productive in the moment, but over time you just spin your wheels. The body doesn't respond to mixed signals. It adapts to what you train clearly and consistently. Here is how to approach the whole situation properly. Don't train harder, train with intent. Know the goal of each session. Are you practicing, lifting, building muscle? Once you decide, structure everything around that. That's how progress becomes predictable. How you train skill, strength and hypertrophy depends on your goals and your life. Your schedule, recovery and priorities all shape what's realistic. There is no single best method, just better choices based on where you are and what you are aiming for. Personally, I train all three in the same session, starting with skill, moving into strength and finishing with hypertrophy. This layered approach works. It brings steady, well-rounded results over time. But it's slow, you can't maximize all three at once. One quality usually takes the lead, while the others progress gradually or stay in maintenance mode. If you're fine with slower gains but want balanced development, this is a sustainable way to train. But if you want faster results in a specific area, you need more targeted programming. You could structure your week around specific qualities. Early in the week for skill, midweek for strength, end of the week for volume. This keeps the sessions focused and recovery cleaner. You can also run focused blocks, 4 to 6 weeks where you lean heavily into one goal. Build muscle with higher volume, then shift to a lower volume strength phase. Or emphasize skill work while keeping strength and size with minimal effective doses. Over time, these phases stack and the gains compound. Whatever method you choose, the key is clarity. Don't try to train everything every day with the same intensity. Design your training like a system, one that moves between technician, lifter and builder, with each role getting its time to shine. That's how you make consistent progress without burning out or hitting dead ends. If you want real progress, whether it's unlocking new skills, building strength, or developing a body that looks and moves like it's trained, you need more than effort, you need clarity. Skill, strength and hypertrophy are different goals. They don't respond to the same training. Going hard isn't enough if you're not aiming in the right direction. A clean handstand doesn't mean you're strong. A big back doesn't mean you have control. Lifting heavy won't teach you to move with precision. Each quality needs its own approach. Before every session, ask yourself, what am I here to build? Skill, strength or muscle? Then make sure your training matches the goal. Don't just work with intent. That's how you stop guessing, stop spinning your wheels and start making progress that actually sticks.